She showed up at my door at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, waving a receipt in my face, screaming that I owed her, because she found out how much I make. And here's the part that will make your jaw drop. She hadn't spoken to me in 3 months before that night. Stay with me, because what happened next, right there in that doorway, is something I wish every hardworking woman could see. And honestly, if you've ever had a family member treat your paycheck like their personal ATM, this story is going to feel very, very familiar. Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk with Rachel, the channel where other people's messy situations save you from making the same mistakes for free. Today's story is about what happens when you spend years quietly protecting your financial privacy from your in-laws, and then one careless moment blows it all wide open. And look, before we get into it, if this is your first time here and you like real, unfiltered stories about money, boundaries, and standing your ground, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm not going to beg you, but I will say this. The people who subscribe are the ones who never miss the endings. And trust me, the endings on this channel? Always worth it. Alright, let's get into it. The knock at the door didn't sound like a knock. It sounded like someone was trying to break through drywall with their bare fists. Amanda, curled up in the corner of her floor-to-ceiling window with a $14 oat milk latte and a budget spreadsheet for a major e-commerce platform glowing on her laptop screen, didn't even flinch. She set down her laptop, glanced at the clock, 9:07 p.m. on a Sunday, and thought, decent people are watching Netflix right now. Standing in the hallway was her mother-in-law, Diane. Diane was the kind of woman who confused the size of her opinions with the size of her bank account. In one hand, she was clutching a crumpled receipt. In the other, her phone calculator app wide open. Her puffy North Face jacket, bought last winter during a buy one, get one 40% off sale at the outlet mall, made her look like she'd stuffed throw pillows into the sleeves instead of arms. $600,000. Diane's voice hit a frequency usually reserved for car alarms and toddler meltdowns in a grocery store. You make $600,000 a year, and I'm out here drowning in credit card debt? Amanda leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. She was wearing a soft Dusty Rose lounge set that probably cost less than Diane's monthly interest payment. She did not invite Diane inside. First, it was too late in the evening for that energy in her entryway. Second, she had a feeling that if Diane crossed the threshold, removing her would require a formal eviction notice and possibly a deputy. Amanda was not someone who buried her head in the sand. But for the past 3 years, she had been very deliberate about keeping her real income invisible to her husband's family. And it wasn't greed. It was math. Amanda was a senior software engineer with 7 years of experience in fintech. Before that, she'd spent 5 years as a staff accountant at a public health clinic in Ohio, making $38,000 a year, back when Diane's side of the family called her that girl from Columbus who got lucky with our Kevin. Kevin worked as a sales rep at a plumbing supply company. He made $58,000 a year. To Diane, that was the ceiling of human achievement. Anything higher was either suspicious or inherited. Amanda's journey from underpaid accountant to six-figure engineer had been built on caffeine, stubbornness, and a lot of late-night coding courses. When she bought her first condo in Austin on her own, Diane came over with a tape measure and spent 20 minutes explaining why townhomes in the suburbs have more character. When Amanda paid off the mortgage 3 years early, Diane told her book club it was because of a lucky refinancing deal. Now, standing in Amanda's doorway, Diane finally understood that luck had nothing to do with any of it. The catastrophic reveal had happened the way most family disasters do, through someone who should have known better. Kevin, sweet, good-hearted, and completely devoid of any self-preservation instincts, had driven over to his mom's house in his new iPhone in hand. Diane, who had the financial radar of a forensic accountant when it came to other people's money, immediately started asking questions. Kevin, beaming with pride, said, "Yeah, Amanda's quarterly bonus just came in, $600,000 take home. She got me this phone as a little gift." The restaurant receipt for $52 that Diane found folded in his jacket pocket was, apparently, the final insult. Diane had done the math in the parking lot of a Walgreens and driven straight to their building. "You are obligated," Diane was now saying, spraying the word obligated like it was a fire hose. I have a balance on my Discover card and you're out here eating at restaurants. Shameful. You need to give half your paycheck to this family every single month. Which family? Amanda's voice was calm, almost lazy, like a cat deciding whether to acknowledge a fly. Yours and Bill's? I'm sorry, but I married Kevin. Our finances are our business. Don't be smart with me. Diane stamped her foot. She was wearing ankle boots, size 8, from DSW. I am your mother-in-law. You married into this family. My debt is your responsibility. I still have 24 months left on this card. That's $1,400 a month. You could cover that without blinking. Amanda almost smiled. There was something almost impressive about the way entitlement inflated its own numbers when it felt cornered. The credit card debt, she knew, was from a full-length mink coat Diane had purchased the previous fall, because her neighbor Susan had shown up to the HOA holiday party in one. Susan, for the record, wore faux fur and looked perfectly fine. Diane. Amanda's voice had shifted calm, but with the kind of quiet weight that makes a room go still. Let me walk you through this. She pulled out her phone. No drama, no raised voice, just the professional habit of someone who spent her days analyzing risk. You took out a high-interest credit card loan for a coat. Your Social Security check is about $1,600 a month. Bill's part-time security job brings in another $2,400. You have $4,000 in monthly income. After rent, utilities, and groceries, who on earth approved you for this loan? That is none of your. It becomes my business the moment you show up at my door demanding I cover it. Amanda took a slow sip of her now-cold latte. Here's what I'm not going to do. I am not going to sponsor your personal status competition with Susan. You bought the coat to impress someone who does not care. I don't do that. I run a spreadsheet before I walk into a store. That's the difference between us. Diane pivoted. The direct argument wasn't working, so she went for the classic maneuver. She grabbed the doorframe, began to slowly slide downward, and pressed one hand to her chest. You want to give me a heart attack. Kevin, baby, are you seeing this? Look at who you married. Kevin, who had been standing in the hallway behind Amanda doing his best impression of a piece of furniture, started to say something. Amanda turned to him with a look that required no translation. Kevin suddenly remembered he had a very important text to respond to about a faucet fixture and quietly disappeared into the living room. Diane. Amanda's voice was firm but not cruel. Please get up. The neighbors will think we're filming a reality show. You'll regret this. Diane pulled herself upright, crumpling the receipt in her fist. Kevin will never forgive you for disrespecting his mother. Amanda turned toward the hallway. Kevin, she called out, will you forgive me for not paying your mom's credit card bill? From somewhere near the kitchen. Yeah. Babe. Obviously. She turned back. See? We're good. Here's what I'll actually offer you, Amanda said, and Diane's eyes flickered. The look of someone who thinks they've finally broken through. Option 1. You list the coat on Poshmark or Facebook Marketplace this week. You'll lose maybe $300 to $400 on the depreciation. That's the price of the lesson. Option 2. You pick up a part-time shift, Walmart, Target, Starbucks, anywhere, and an extra $900 a month cuts your timeline in half. Option 3. She paused. You forget this address exists. Kevin and I will come to family holidays with a nice box of chocolates. We will smile. We will leave at a reasonable hour. And your debt will remain entirely yours, as it always was. Diane stared at her. She had expected tears. She had expected Kevin to step in. She had expected the woman to fold. She had not expected a 3-part structured resolution delivered in the tone of a quarterly earnings call. You'll be sorry, she said again, but the fire was gone. She turned and walked to the elevator. Amanda closed the door, the quiet click of solid hardware, not a slam. She walked back to her window, picked up her latte, and opened her banking app out of habit. Every account balanced. Every category under budget. Every line item exactly where she'd put it. Kevin appeared in the doorway, sheepish and blinking. You okay? He asked. I'm like a really good financial model, she said, eyes still on her screen. Stable, well documented, and not subject to outside interference. He laughed a little, then came and sat next to her. Somewhere downstairs, they heard Diane's car, a 2009 Buick LeSabre, start up and pull out of the parking structure. She was driving back to her apartment in Garland, 30 minutes away, to figure out how to explain to Susan why the mink coat might not be making another appearance this winter. Amanda knew the next few weeks would bring the family group chat going silent, then exploding. Passive-aggressive texts from Kevin's aunts. Maybe a voicemail from a cousin she hadn't spoken to in 4 years. But none of that could touch her, because she had done something most people never do. She had drawn a line, held it, and not apologized for it. She had a formula she'd been quietly refining for years. Your income is your private information. Someone else's bad financial decisions are not your emergency. And she protected that formula not with anger, but with the unshakable calm of someone who had built everything she had from nothing, one deliberate decision at a time. Look, if you've ever had someone in your life treat your hard-earned money like it belonged to them, you already know this story isn't just about Amanda. It's about every person who worked in silence, got told they just got lucky, and then had to stand in a doorway one Sunday night and prove that luck had absolutely nothing to do with it. If that hit close to home, and I have a feeling it did, subscribe. Not because I'm telling you to, but because you clearly have taste in stories, and I drop one every single week. And hey, drop a comment below. Have you ever had a family member do something like this? Because I have a feeling the comments on this one are going to be very therapeutic for a lot of people. See you next week.